This is New Time on Silkway TV channel. We introduce you with the most visible news and important events that happen throughout this week in Kazakhstan and Central Asia. More details on politics, economy, social and cultural life with opinions from the most recognizable experts of Kazakhstan and world. I'm Ainuri Mangali and this is what you'll see today. Devastating floods hit Kazakhstan. What is the response so far, and is it possible to eliminate this issue in the future? New Times interviewed world's leading experts. Will ChatGPT speak Kazakh? Researchers and entrepreneurs are competing over adapting the technology into reality in Kazakhstan. Hollywood is now even closer to Central Asia. What promising collaborations are expected to happen in the upcoming future? Kassym-Jomart Tokayev today held a meeting of the National Council of Science and Technology in Akurda. In his speech, the head of state raised a series of important issues related to the development of science in Kazakhstan. The president also stated that 625 billion tenge, or approximately $1.3 billion are allocated for the development of science over a 3-year period. To date, the salaries of scientists have doubled. The number of educational grants for training in doctoral programs is increasing. Much attention is paid to the organization of internships of our scientists in the leading scientific centers of the world, President said, adding that support for young researchers has been strengthened, resulting in a noticeable increase in the share of young people in science. To ensure the country's progress, it is important to quickly adapt to changes and constantly search for new points of growth. This is a strategic task, the head of state underlined. And also earlier this week, President Tokayev held telephone talks with the leaders of Turkey, Recep Tayyip Erdogan, and Russia, Vladimir Putin. In conversation with Recep Tayyip Erdogan, Kazakh president underlined the fraternal nature of bilateral relations, unwavering solidarity and mutual support between two nations. Counterparts also considered issues of strengthening strategic partnership and discussed the schedule of upcoming meetings. In a call with Russian president, two leaders discussed the flood situation in the border regions of Kazakhstan and Russia, as well as enhancing cooperation in combating natural disasters. Let me remind you that Kazakhstan has faced devastating floods in a number of regions. Kassym-Jomart Tokayev expressed gratitude to the people of Kazakhstan and the leaders of foreign countries for their support and assistance in combating the floods. On his Instagram account, the president stated, "Kazakhstan is sincerely grateful for the willingness of our friends to show solidarity in the difficult time of confronting floods with unprecedented destructive power." The head of state reiterated that not a single person would be left without attention and care. It is gratifying that at the time of difficult trials, our people once again showed themselves at their best, demonstrating an example of unity and perseverance, he shared. Meanwhile, a state of emergency remains in place across 8 regions of Kazakhstan due to unprecedented floods. Currently, nearly 25,000 individuals are engaged in rescue operations, and the government has warned of the threat of a second wave of floods. Darren Isagulov will provide more details on the natural disaster that Kazakhstan is facing today.
The spring floods of 2024 have become the most extensive for Kazakhstan in the last 80 years. A state of emergency was declared in several regions, with nearly 60 settlements cut off from the outside world due to the flooding, as reported by the Ministry for Emergency Situations. In 8 regions of the country, the conditions remain extremely challenging. According to the latest data, 98,000 people have been evacuated from the flooded areas, with over 3,700 residential homes submerged underwater. Responding to this massive disaster, the head of state, Kassym-Jomart Tokayev, addressed the nation on April 6 and made several trips to the disaster-stricken regions.
Addressing the citizens affected by the flooding, I want to declare, none of you will be left without the attention of the state. Financial and other necessary assistance will be provided to all of you, and all your material losses will be compensated.
The National Hydrometeorological Service, Kazhydromet, has also announced the possibility of a sharp rise in water levels along the Ural River by April 20th. The largest cities of western Kazakhstan, Uralsk and Atyrau, are located along this river, where flooding of nearby settlements has already been recorded. It is worth noting that the threat of significant floods was discussed in December of last year. The forecast by Kazakh was the reason behind this concern. According to the information from the Vice Minister for Emergency Situations, Baurjan Sizdikov, around $16 million were allocated for flood control measures, responding the forecast. The General Prosecutor's Office of Kazakhstan is currently investigating how these funds were allocated. According to Amirhan Kenshimov, a veteran of water management and a hydraulic engineer, the scale of the disaster indicates poor preparation by the authorities.
President was right in saying that sitting and doing nothing was not an option, because Kazakh warned of precipitation, rapid warming and cooling, which could lead to massive floods. Last year in the fall there was a lot of rain, a lot of snow, then everything froze, and then it warmed up again. By spring this led to the soil being frozen, and when the snow melts, it should, for example, seep into the ground. But this didn't happen. That's why these waters flooded territories and settlements. It was necessary to listen to the experts' warnings.
According to President Tokayev, apart from poor preparation for natural disasters, a serious problem remains the lack of qualified personnel in water resource management. This is also noted by experts. Specialists face low salaries and conditions that do not attract young people.
To counter these issues, it's necessary to train competent professionals. Currently, we seem to be educating water specialists in 9 universities, but there is no hint of engineering. However, we need real engineers, real planners and builders. That's why we need quality education.
The expert is confident that such natural disasters will occur more frequently with each passing year. And it's not just about Kazakhstan. The primary cause leading to the largest floods lies in global climate change.
First and foremost, it's essential to understand what's happening globally on Earth. The Earth is experiencing climate warming. On average, temperatures are already 1.5 degrees Celsius higher than usual. This leads to the warming of oceans and seas, resulting in water evaporation. This contributes to the formation of strong cyclones. These cyclones bring not only benefits in the form of moisture for the land, but also disasters. You can see that flooding is occurring in many places, for example in the United Arab Emirates, Egypt and America. In Russia, flooding is happening in the Orenburg and Tyumen regions.
Today, Kazakhstan is preparing for the second wave of floods. Big water is coming from Russia and will reach the western regions of the country in the second decade of April, warned Deputy Prime Minister of Kazakhstan, Kanat Bazumbayev. More than 10,000 military personnel have been mobilized to protect the western regions. Daurian Sagulov, New Time.
Speaking today at the meeting of the National Council for Science and Technology in Akorda, Kassym-Jomart Tokayev also addressed the issue of floods. The president once again emphasized the acute shortage of qualified personnel and scientists in this field. According to the president, during the difficult 1990s, 40,000 scientists left Kazakhstan, and today the country is forced to bear the consequences. In this regard, the head of state announced a decision to restore the Taraz Hydromeliorative and Construction Institute. Flooding is expected to reduce Kazakhstan GDP by 1.3% by 2060 if no adaptation actions are taken, said World Bank expert Winston Yu. In an exclusive interview to the New Time, Mr. Yu told about the severe influence of the climate change on the situation regarding floods and water resources in Central Asian countries. Please watch the interview right now.
So, Mr. Yu, thank you very much for being with us. As you probably know, there's an emergency situation with floods in Kazakhstan. So my first question is, how do leading world countries manage such emergency situations with floods and water resources, and whose example would you consider to be the most effective, please?
Okay, well, let me first say my heart goes out to those communities that are being affected by this flood. As you know, we are in a climate crisis, which is very much a water crisis. And this is an issue that countries all around the world are grappling with. It's often difficult to find one single country that I can say is the good example, because to be frank with you, every country has its struggles. I think what makes Kazakhstan unique is that it sits in a region with neighbors and shares water resources with its neighbors. And so from this perspective, this is why it's extremely important to strengthen and modernize the cooperation between Kazakhstan and its neighbors on topics such as flood management, as well as broader water security issues. Maybe just since you asked for an example, the Sava River, which runs through several Western Balkan countries, they have a commission that has actually developed a quite powerful flood where countries can come together to tackle together issues around floods. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, okay.
Okay, let me clarify this for our viewers. Is Kazakhstan a water-dependent country? And how significantly does Kazakhstan's water security depend on neighboring countries?
Okay, so it's hard to talk about just Kazakhstan as a country without going into the details of different regions across Kazakhstan. Some parts of Kazakhstan obviously are more dry than other parts, but I think the reality and the truth here is that if we start to look forward and we want to plan for the future, climate change is going to affect the entire country. Again, whether it's west, east, south, or north. If you look at the World Bank's Climate Change Development Report, which was released in 2022, one of our key messages is that the Kazakh people and the economy are extremely vulnerable to physical climate change. And here I'm talking about changes in rainfall patterns. And so if you think about, you have an agriculture sector that's very much dependent upon rain. You've got a country that's also exposed to droughts and then flooding, obviously. All of these things will impact different parts of the regions differently. But what I wanted to highlight is that it's clear that there will be consequences for agricultural sectors, jobs, and more broadly, the water sector. You can imagine flooding will disrupt transport networks, energy infrastructure. It could disrupt trade, global value chains, and all of this matters to the people of Kazakhstan. I just want to highlight that in our climate change development report, some analysis suggests that flooding alone, as you're experiencing now, is expected to reduce GDP by 1.3% by 2060 if no adaptation actions are taken. Okay, so quite a serious issue. So to answer your question, because we are in a climate crisis, which is a water crisis, Kazakhstan very much is vulnerable.
You already slightly mentioned that, but I want to go more into details. Does the World Bank have forecasts regarding the situation with water resources in Central Asia for next, I say, 5 years?
So predictions are difficult, as you know, but if you look at the World Bank's Kazakhstan Climate Change Development Report, there are predictions in there, predictions that actually we are already seeing materialize. So in particular, obviously temperatures are increasing. This is irrefutable. And those higher temperatures and more frequent heat waves will definitely increase the risk of heat stress for the Kazakh population. This also has implications on snow melt and glacier melt, and this is what we're seeing currently with this floods. I think what is more challenging is the predictions of what rainfall patterns will look like in the future. Irrespective of the exact number, I think we can all agree that climate change will increasingly reduce the availability of water resources in Kazakhstan. Okay, and what that will mean for agriculture, in terms of production. If you look at our report, we are making estimates of, for example, reductions in spring wheat yields by 2030 could be reduced between 13 to 37%. And that's huge. And if you go out to 2050, estimates are showing 20 to 50% reduction in wheat yields. And this is due to both increases in temperatures and also reductions in rainfall. And so this is where I do think, where we have been most engaged in is helping the government on supporting irrigation. Currently only, I think it's like 8 or 9% of the cultivated land is irrigated. You have an agriculture system that is still largely dominated by a rain-fed production. And so to increase the security for your farmers, you will need to think about how you store water better and how you provide better irrigation services to your farmers so that they can be more efficient with the water you have, because the future, there's going to be less. So how do we make do with what we have, I think, is the game plan for most countries around the world these days, including in Central Asia.
Let's move on to some other news topics. Kazakhstan is ready to increase exports of 195 commodities worth $260 million to Kyrgyzstan, said Kazakh Prime Minister Olzhas Biktenov in Bishkek this week. During negotiations with his Kyrgyz counterpart, the sides discussed all the measures to raise bilateral trade turnover to $2 billion. And as reported earlier, President of Kyrgyzstan, Sadyr Japarov, will pay official visit to Kazakhstan next week. These and other major events that dominated Central Asia are in the review of my colleague, political observer Ozhechi Gerbaev.
April 5th, President Tokayev visits Khiva, Uzbekistan. While visiting, negotiations were conducted with the President Mr. Mirziyoyev, during which discussions covered current trade, economic and investment cooperation matters, along with industrial and cross-border collaboration issues. It's important to highlight that the structure of the meeting, the detailed agenda and the direct involvement of heads of states in hearing reports from deputy prime ministers and co-chairs of working groups within the Intergovernmental Commission signifies strong commitment from both Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan to advance their multi-affected cooperation. This demonstrates the mutual desire of our countries' leaders to achieve tangible outcomes that will elevate bilateral relations to a highly new level of progressiveness. During an April 9 meeting in Bishkek, Prime Minister of Kazakhstan, Mr. Olzhas Biktenov, reiterated his country's commitment to enhancing trade and economic ties with the Kyrgyz Republic. Discussions with Kyrgyz President Mr. Sadyr Japarov focused on measures to boost bilateral trade turnover to $2 billion USD with Kazakhstan, expressing readiness to increase exports of 195 goods valued at $260 million USD. Both parties acknowledged the substantial potential across various sectors such as food industry, petrochemicals, constructions and pharmaceuticals. Plans were outlined for the construction of the industrial trade and logistics complex at the shared border to boost trade, economic and investment cooperation. Kyrgyz President Mr. Sadyr Japarov is scheduled to undertake an official visit to Kazakhstan on April 18-19, during which he will meet with Kazakh President Mr. Kassym-Jomart Tokayev, co-chair of Supreme Interstate Council meeting, and participate in the opening of Kyrgyz Cinema Days in Kazakhstan, among other events. Kyrgyzstan's renewable energy capacity reached 3.210 megawatts in 2023, marking a 15.4% increase compared to the previous years of 2022 and 2021. However, this figure represents a 12% decline from the higher projections of 2020, 2019 and 2018. The country's renewable energy capacity peaked in 2017 at 3.689 megawatts. The majority of Kyrgyzstan's electricity is generated by hydroelectric power plants. Russian Rosatom, the state atomic energy corporation, plans to construct several small hydroelectric power stations along the Chandalash River in Kyrgyzstan with a total capacity of up to 24 megawatts, scheduled to commence operations in 2025. Another significant hydropower project in the country is the Kambarata 1, situated on the Naren River. This project, slated to be one of Central Asia's largest hydropower ventures, is designed to have a capacity of 1.860 megawatts and reservoir volume of 5.4 million of cubic meters, with an estimated annual electricity generation of 5.6 billion of kilowatts. Kyrgyzstan secured a deal with the World Bank in November 2023 for $5 million USD in technical support to revise the feasibility assessment for the Kambarata 1.
Production of advanced medication for treating cardiovascular diseases will be launched in Kazakhstan from 2025. This is a joint project of domestic and Finnish pharmaceutical companies. The announcement was made during a meeting of the Kazakh-Finnish Intergovernmental Commission on Trade and Economic Cooperation in Astana. During the meeting, the delegation led by Finnish Minister for Foreign Trade and Development, Ville Tavio, expressed intentions to broaden cooperation across other areas as well, noting that the country has huge potential for this. It is noteworthy that in 2023 the trade turnover between the two countries amounted to $208 million.
It's my first time visiting Kazakhstan, and I'm happy to lead a business delegation here with a very prominent businesses that can work with Kazakhstan on fields of mining, forestry, energy and clean tech. I think we have good expectations for more Finnish-Kazakh cooperation on many fields of businesses, and government of Finland is focusing very much on the Central Asian market now.
IT engineers and entrepreneurs in Kazakhstan are set to create a Kazakh analog to ChatGPT. According to venture investor Bakht Niyazov, Irbis GPT will become a pioneering project in the development of the Kazakh language through the application of AI. The initiative, supported by the President Tokayev, among others, aims not only to promote the Kazakh language, but also to integrate it into modern digital technologies. To find out what is ChatGPT in Kazakh, watch our next report.
Although the new product by the Kazakh company Mast Holding is referred to an analog of ChatGPT, one of the project investors, Bakht Niyazov, says that Irbis GPT is created for different purposes. Our focus is entirely different. We are creating a large Kazakh language model, which is primarily aimed at supporting and developing the Kazakh language. Users should receive with our assistance the opportunities that open up specifically for them in terms of using the language in business, education, science, legislation and other spheres that are important in everyday life. In other words, Irbis GPT is a language model based on artificial intelligence, the goal of which is digitization of the Kazakh language, making modern technologies accessible to everyone. It includes education and training through AI that understands the state language. It's also a tool that, according to the creators, will enable companies and enterprises to develop high-tech products and services in Kazakh language. In our country, there are practical tasks associated with the use of the Kazakh language. Our goal is to ensure that in any school, in any university, it would be easy to deploy an artificial intelligence laboratory in the national language, where children or young people could create their own mobile applications in their native language, using the knowledge base that we will accumulate with the help of Irbis GPT. According to the creators, to bring the project to a national level, approximately $5 million in investment will be required. Currently, Irbis GPT is in the testing phase. Meanwhile, in pursuit of creating artificial intelligence, the government is also not lagging behind. The Ministry of Digital Development of Kazakhstan oversees the making of another analog of ChatGPT. It is expected that the full large language model would be completed by December of this year.
The first thing is the versatility of this model would help to build the different types of products and the services. For example, like by analogy of with ChatGPT, so you don't need to read the full text or listen the full audio. So what do you need to, the product will give you the summary of this. So it would help to the writers, the consultants to build their services, right? To build their products.
By creating such language models, Kazakhstan aims to become part of global initiative for the development of multilingual AI solutions. This not only underscores Kazakhstan's role in preserving and developing linguistic diversity, but also its aspiration for leading positions in the field of digital innovation and technologies. Dauren Sagulov, New Time.
Qualifying match between women's tennis teams of Japan and Kazakhstan started today in Tokyo. The winners of the match will compete at the Billie Jean King Cup World Team Championship in November. In the first game, Kazakh player Anna Danilina lost to Nao Hibino. The score of the meeting was 1-6, 0-6. In the second match of the day, Yulia Putintseva battled former world #1 Naomi Osaka, winner of 4 Grand Slam tournaments. Kazakhstan lost the first set 2-6. The outcome of the second game was decided on a tie-break where the Japanese was stronger 7-6. Tomorrow, 3 more matches are scheduled.
So the match was pretty fast. The surface was very fast. My game was not working because of the surface, obviously. My game is to play a little bit more than 2 shots, but unfortunately today she was serving very well. I couldn't start the point. The only way I could start the point was the second serve, but unfortunately she was not giving me today too many chances.
The first Hollywood film studio has opened in Kazakhstan. This is the first collaborative project between the U.S. film company and Kazakh producers. Its goal is to promote Kazakh actors in Hollywood and to invite A-list American stars to work in Kazakhstan. It is planned to produce 4 to 5 films per year. This includes 2 local movies for distribution in the United States and 2 to 3 Hollywood films that will be edited by American professionals, featuring worldwide known actors and also those of Kazakh origin. According to Abay Sarkulov, CEO of Wonder Silk Studios, cost-saving factor and the rapid development of the Kazakh creative industry became the main reasons behind the establishment of the partnership.
The first film, which was shot for the festival several weeks ago, is called Mannequin. It's in a black and white in the style of Charlie Chaplin with no words. This will be the first festival film we have got shot. Now it's being edited. In July of this year we plan to present in New York as well as in Kazakhstan. In total we have plans for 5 films. One of them will be called Incredible Derby. It's a film about horse racing with filming taking place both in Kazakhstan and America.
The 8-year-old from Kazakhstan publishes her books in the US. Malika Abdulhaq dedicates most of her time to create her own personages she finds inspirational not only for herself, but other kids too. The illustrated stories of Malika are gaining popularity, and the author herself has the big plans for the future. Silkway TV channel's team talked to the young talent and knew about all her interests. Please have a look.
The works of 80-year-old Malika Abdulhaq from Kazakhstan are gaining popularity around the world. The young author's illustrated stories in English are featured on Amazon, Kindle Direct Publishing in the United States. The girl admits that she devotes all her free time to creativity and has no particular favorite genre. She finds inspiration in any of them. One of her works, titled Bob and Rob, The Best Robot Friends, spans 16 pages and caters to readers aged 5 to 12.
What I want to share about Bob and Rob is it's about 2 robot friends who have a friendship and they just have all these sort of adventures together. They just have fun and just like a normal children's friendship. And they have funny adventures, really funny ones. I just love books. Once I'm done with all my schoolwork, like in the evening time on weekdays, I start writing my books a bit more, and then on weekends I just do it fully and freely.
According to the young writer, her profound love for books prompted her to start creating her own works. She began writing her first short illustrated stories at the age of 5. Abdulhaq's second book, Amina's Naures, was released on Amazon in early March. This story, written in English with some Kazakh words, follows Amina's as she shares her family's Naures celebrations, giving readers insight into Kazakh national traditions, cuisine and games.
This book is made with love, a lot of love from me about my culture, and it's about my passion for Kazakhstan. And this book is made because I wanted everyone to know about Nowruz in Kazakhstan, to foreigners as well. I wanted to know my passion for Kazakhs, and I'm the ambassador of my culture, and they should be the ambassador of theirs too. And I want them to be proud of what they have done, what they achieved, and their cultures.
Abdulhaq plans to release another book about the adventures of 2 robot friends on Amazon. Later, she intends to publish the book in paperback format.
That's it for today. All the main news about Kazakhstan and Central Asia you can find here. More special projects about our country you can also watch on Silkway TV channel. So stay tuned and see you next week.